tips and ideas, real estate contracts, market trends, home values, and more. It's a talk radio show, and you can follow along online. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. If you missed any of our shows, you can listen on my podcast at talkrealestateradio.com. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me regarding your home sale or your home purchase, you can connect with me anytime at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all our South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable with Boston Connect Real Estate Broker Team. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined in studio tonight by my team member, Mary Baker.
Hello.
Hello. And, oh, look, there's Dustin. We have Dustin joining us. How's your internet going over there?
We will find out over the next 45 minutes.
Okay. It's going to happen. Dustin Hughes is joining us from Boston. And then we also have Sharon McNamara joining us via Zoom. Hello, Sharon.
Hello. How is everybody doing tonight?
We're doing
fantastic.
Well. Thank you. Fantastic. And you know what? Because we have two very special guests tonight. We will introduce them. I know
in just a moment.
Yeah, we will introduce them in just a moment. But we wanted to keep it sort of local and giving back and sort of getting into the holiday spirit. We only have a couple shows left of the year, so and then tonight we're only on until 7:00 tonight. So we're going to keep it concise and on purpose with our two very special guests tonight.
And Dustin, that's your job.
That
to
is
keep
your
us on
job, Dustin.
No
pressure. No pressure. And then we don't have a little break, so we're just going to go right into our topic. So Dustin, why don't you get us started with our first guest?
Yeah, awesome. So tonight we are being joined by Peter Forman. Peter is the president and CEO of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce.
Nice. Yeah, I know. Well, we're all South Shore locals, so that's awesome to hear.
Yes.
Well, I am super excited about keeping it hyper local during the holiday season this year, just with everything that's going on. I mean, we're always about the community, so to have him with us tonight is just really a special treat for me. You guys did a really good job putting the show together for me while I had other things to deal with family matters.
What's a team for?
So, Peter, first and foremost, how are you?
Doing great. All things considered for this year, we're just a few weeks away from getting rid of this year, so that's good.
I know. End of 2020. Come on, let's usher it out. Let's end it on a high note, though, guys.
End it on a nice, positive, cheerful note.
Yes.
Well,
Peter, can we, I was going to say, start off by just, giving our listeners a little brief introduction to who you are and really who the Chamber of Commerce is.
Sure. South Shore Chamber has been around for over 125 years at this point. We are the largest business association on the South Shore, the third or fourth largest Chamber of Commerce in the state. And being a regional chamber, a lot of our focus is on the regional economy, economic development for the area, political advocacy for the region, and stay pretty busy with that, particularly in a time like this when there are so many changes taking place in business and so many more changes that are going to take place as we get into recovery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the direction we're going in. And, I'm sure you've been answering these questions for months now. But, I mean, it's obviously it's a trying time. But, I mean, with COVID and with everything going on, has it affected the Chamber's goals or missions or initiatives kind of moving forward?
Yeah, it's certainly changed the way we operate, just as it has for most of our businesses. The Chamber had traditionally does an awful lot of work bringing people together so that they can meet one another, exchange information, get a lot of peer mentoring. We had to pivot very fast in March from our in-person events, and our events would be anywhere from 6 people, very small, intimate gatherings to 500 people. But we had to quickly abandon all of that and switch to remote, as everyone has. And as you know, being in the the information business, the communication business, going from live to remote, just as going from radio to internet, is not as simple as just putting a camera on the meeting. You've got to change up not just how you do things, but you have to change up what you're going to talk about and how you're going to present it, because you can't have the give and take of 5 people talking at the same time. And there's got to be a topic driving it. So there are a lot of changes that we've done with our programming. And obviously the need of our members have changed quite a bit. Not surprisingly, during COVID, and particularly the first phase of it, there was a lot of concern about how people simply keep operating, how they save their business. So our focus on member services and how we serve them had to change. And there's been an awful lot of work this year on just trying to provide information and do what might be called constituent service or concierge service for individual businesses that were having very specific problems, and we try to help out that way. Fortunately, we've been involved for several years on a large economic development plan for the region. That's been progressing and actually moving forward a little more quickly during this, because more members are appreciating the fact that the whole economy is subject to some risk now. So that woke up, that got the attention of a lot of people realizing, as good as the South Shore is, we could be at a strong economic disadvantage coming out of this, heading into recovery. So that part of it's moved forward. But for businesses, there really are 2 phases of this. It was the slowdown, which was devastating, as everyone, all of your listeners can appreciate when you have a sudden business disruption. But the second phase is going to be recovery, because we don't know how people are going to change their behavior. We don't know how people are going to change their living conditions and choice of jobs. Are we going to be getting more people leaving the city coming to Boston? Are we going to have more people who are going to work part-time at home, part-time in the office? For a lot of businesses, they survive by cutting a lot of expenses.
Yeah.
As you try to reopen, you got to have the overhead and capacity to grow the income in the top line, and that might be harder to do when you've cut a lot of the support you've had for maintaining a business. So there are 2 real challenges here for businesses, and then we expect to see a fair amount of turnover of business leaders. Whenever you have a big disruption like this, it sort of encourages some businesses to finally make the decision to sell or to merge or to pass on the business to the next generation. So that creates some more turmoil and adjustment. On the upside, we've seen a lot of people, as you would expect in a recession, to maybe start their own business. So we've seen some new business startups during this as well. So a lot of churning, a lot of creativity, a lot of energy.
It's interesting. I see even on my block a handful of new offices popping up, and your initial thought is, these people are crazy. What do they like? Do they know what's going on right now? It just isn't the time, and exactly like you're saying. And I mean, once you have the time to kind of invest in what you want your future to be, it actually might be the perfect time.
For a lot of people, starting during a recession or an economic downturn is actually the perfect time. You have more time at it. The The overhead is lower if you're brand new.
Yeah.
So you can work a tighter ship, less overhead, sometimes less cost. That sometimes creates a niche or a slight temporary advantage among established businesses. Mm-hmm. And you get that energy. The South Shore is loaded with entrepreneurs. The DNA of the South Shore is we have a lot of people who live here but work in very large companies, work up in Boston, have a lot of experience, but they want to give up the long commute or the big corporate life, and they bring a lot of smarts, a lot of business smarts, and then finally get that itch. They're going to do it on their own. They're going to start their own. So we're seeing some of that.
Yeah. Peter, one thing for me is I actually opened Boston Connect Real Estate. I went out on my own in 2010. So that was the very bottom of real estate at that point. Yeah. And, it was interesting because what sort of pushed me ahead to do something was, seeing what was going on in the corporate world and just wanting, something boutique-y, you know what I mean, where it's like just very client focused. I'm not saying the big companies are not, but it was just, when you have upper management to worry about in those declined times, you make different decisions. And I just remember I said to my husband, like, all right, let's sell our boat and open up a real estate office. And people thought but my thought was, there's no place for me to go but up. We're already at the bottom. And it was probably the best time for me to do that. And I remember reading either an article or one of the many books I've sort of dabbled in when Buffett always says, you buy real estate at the bottom, right? When everything seems bad. So it all worked out. Here we are 10 years.
Oh, you froze there.
Number 10. Oh, sorry. Number 10 or 11 in Plymouth County for real estate firms. So it's a really good time.
We're going to chime in with that story, Sharon. I was like, come on, where is she?
I was like, we have our own entrepreneur on the call right now.
Mm-hmm. Peter, listening to you talk, just from my perspective, because I'm kind of unknowledgeable, I guess. I don't know too much about the South Shore Chamber and everything that you guys do and provide, but it seems like you have a lot of support out there for people who are starting new businesses and kind of an ability for them to lean into you and be able to provide just information and kind of get them started. Is that kind of what you guys do, is networking and also providing not intel, but like support?
Yeah, sure. It's part of what we do. We have some very good partners we work with. SCORE, the senior executive corps of volunteers that give free advice. The Mass Business Development Office gives free advice to startup businesses, or any business actually, to help. But really where a chamber becomes very helpful, it's less about kind of the classroom type of presentation on how to run a business. And it's more about bringing people together so that there is a lot of peer learning and a lot of peer help. One thing about people in business, and I think particularly true on the South Shore, because we have so many people who are sort of midlife or mid-career business entrepreneurs. They've been through a lot, and they're incredibly generous with their time and their expertise. So when they see another business professional, whether it's an owner or somebody who works for a business, looking to grow, looking to try something new, looking to learn, the business people on the South Shore are just very generous, stepping up and doing that. So a lot of what we do, some of it is providing information, some of it's providing direction. An awful lot of it is providing opportunity for people to open their minds, expand their relationships, and be willing to learn and be challenged about their assumptions of business, and learn from people who may have gone through the same speed bumps on their business plan that the new entrepreneur may be going through.
I feel like
Peter,
that's so important, especially given, sorry, Sharon, just this time that we're in right now. I feel like that's so important to be able to learn from each other's failures and successes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. I just want to be able to
ask one question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mel. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to be able to give our listeners the phone number. So if you have any questions for Peter, the number for Ben at the studio is 781-837-4900. Again, you're listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable with the Boston Connect Real Estate Broker Team. Peter, please continue if I cut you off. I just want to be sure. So if you have any questions for Peter or for us, give Ben a call at the studio here.
Mm-hmm. So I had a question just in regard to the way that the chamber works. So I had been, I'm part of the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce, and I was on the board at one time, really enjoyed it. Such a great group of people and volunteers. Tell me a little bit about how you sort of collaborate with all the different chambers, individual chambers. Is it something that you're finding a lot of your members, they're also part of these individual town chambers as well?
It varies on the business and what the company's footprint is, and how many people are working for them, because one person can't easily cover 15 different chambers. Patty Dunnigan does it from Biz Jackson. I think she was active with Pembroke. So you may have heard her talk about joining 15 different
well, I was texting with Peter Brown earlier today.
Yes, Peter does 5 or 6 chambers.
Yes, he is a great guy, and he's such a nice community-based, he's always giving back.
So we get our work, we achieve a lot of our goals for the region through collaboration, and that may be through federal or national groups. I'm very active with the U.S. Chamber on a couple of committees and some associations. We collaborate pretty closely with most of the Boston and statewide business groups. And then we try to collaborate with local chambers where there's a willingness and where there are some common interests. Our focus is not a single town. That focus is very important, but that's not what we can do as a regional chamber. It's not what we can do best. So we have found, as part of our work in helping the region succeed, is we will focus on a lot of the regional issues and then try to partner with local chambers where they're doing something that to them may look very local, but to us fits into a much larger regional picture, and we will try to support them. So we have 6 or 7 business associations and local chambers that we are formally affiliated with. We provide backroom support to them. We provide some staff time. And that's also, the local chamber can be stronger and more effective at working some of the local community issues, the interfacing of business with the community and with their town halls. And so we try to do some of the backroom record-keeping assistance for those chambers, and then compare notes about what we see happening in Boston or in Washington and what we're doing regionally, find out what the local chambers may be doing. And where there's a chance to collaborate, we can. Where there may not be any interest, we don't push it.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Mary, it's all you.
I was going to say, when you talk about collaborating from both a regional standpoint, collaborating with Greater Boston, I mean, I love that idea. I'm actually from inner city Boston myself originally, so and so isn't Sharon. Thinking about just different mentalities, and like you were saying earlier, bringing that inner city mentality down to the South Shore and just those big ideas type thing. Is that something that you're doing annually, or do you have a schedule, and how can people get involved with stuff like that? I'm just curious. I know nothing about the Chamber of Commerce, so I'm sorry if I'm asking benign questions or. Yeah,
it's not so much done at the member level with joint events. It's more done at the the president CEO level of organizations, where we will get together periodically. Used to be almost monthly that the Boston and state business groups would get together, and we would be one of the chambers in those discussions. There would be constant phone calls. We had a conversation yesterday with somebody from the Boston Chamber staff about transportation. So it'd be a lot of that joint collaboration of sort of assessing what's going on in each of our markets, where we have common interests, what political issues we might be able to all get behind. So it's more of that than it is joint member events.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. It's good to know that, like you said, it used to be maybe monthly calls. Maybe COVID has stopped that a little bit. But if you're seeing from like a larger business or a larger organization standpoint up in the city, how it's affecting greater Boston, and then how small businesses are being affected down here, I think the crossover is kind of interesting to be able to talk about.
So there's obviously an absolute connection to that. The Boston economy is not just Boston. In fact, a lot of the Boston economy, it's considered biotech, and that's Cambridge. But the Boston metropolitan, which is about a third of the state, that economy includes all of the South Shore and Boston. And you certainly have different pockets of strength or influence within those. But if Boston doesn't succeed, the South Shore is not going to thrive. And if the suburbs aren't doing well, that's going to affect Boston. So we all have a common interest in protecting our own businesses, our own communities and neighborhoods, and advocating for them. But we also need to be aware and advocate for the greater Boston economy, the Massachusetts and New England economy, and ultimately the U.S. economy. So these are all, they're not distinct interests. We all focus on different parts of it, but we all see the connections.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that's interesting as you were talking, and this is why we call it a roundtable, Peter, because somebody will have a great thought and idea like you, and it makes me sort of wonder about different things that are going on. And what we have been seeing in the city is it's very slow in there. And we're seeing in real estate that a lot of people are moving this way just because they do have the ability to work, remotely. So one of the things I was sort of considering as you were talking is, I feel so bad for our small businesses. And, I grew up in Dorchester. My mother and father had a little convenience store. I know my dad's listening. Hi, Dad, I love you. And, those small businesses, I feel that, Boston is seeing such an impact, and it's so quiet in the city right now. But at least like some of that business is coming to our smaller businesses around here. Even if it's still quiet in the restaurants, the city is basically shut down. So at least maybe they're getting some more of the takeout and different services there. As we're getting ready to sort of wrap up you with some of our time, I know Dustin may have some other questions, but I just wanted to know, what are some of your suggestions for our WATD listeners on how we can, support and stay hyper local this year in thinking about our small businesses?
You try to shop, you try to do as much extra as you can. So shop local. And local doesn't necessarily mean it isn't a national brand, because if they have a local store, those are local residents who are working there. But a little more window shopping and store visiting than online ordering. And, just having trucks drive up to your house would help. Now we're fairly late into the Christmas season, which sounds like it's going to be cut short by at least 2 days with the storms. But it isn't going to be just about Christmas. There is, there's a long road ahead for recovery. And what we're finding with a lot of our members is they're going to survive 2021, but 2021 may look harder for a lot of them because they've gone through their reserves. Yeah. They cut expenses as far as they can, and they have to scramble next year to try to keep up with an expected pace of recovery and growth. And sometimes growth can kneecap you as much as a slowdown. So remember that this doesn't end just when there's a vaccine. This doesn't end just when everyone is vaccinated and we're not wearing masks. Most businesses that we talk to are looking to 2022 as a year when things stabilize for their business plans. Mm-hmm. So keeping all of this in mind and supporting local businesses for the next year and helping where you can is going to be important.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Tipping well is what we say, right? To make sure we're tipping well.
Peter, we cannot thank you enough for joining us. This has been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully,
very educational for me.
Very informative.
Yeah. Yes, I want to join. Can I join the South Shore Chamber now? So I have to be sponsored, Peter?
You can join anytime.
Okay.
Hopefully, we can have you back in 2021 for a little update on what we kind of started discussing tonight.
Yeah. I'll be glad to. Evening meetings are so much easier now. So after, and it's not bad. So
you do it right from the comfort of your own home.
There you go.
Awesome. Well,
and
Peter,
we won't
thank
even
you so
tell
much.
anybody if you have a glass of wine while you're joining us, by the way.
This isn't tea.
That's great. Well, have a very, very happy holiday. And again, thank you for such short notice doing this with us. We really appreciate it. And with all kidding aside, I do want to join the South Shore Chamber. I do want to get more focused now that both my girls are through college and one just passed the bar and one is doing her thing. And yeah, thank you. I'm really excited about that.
Give me a call offline sometime and we'll talk about our housing and real estate initiative, which is part of our economic strategy.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, Peter.
Have a great night.
Peter's great. That was great.
Peter was great. Yeah, he was.
Great.
Pam, are you still here with us?
We do. We have another guest. Dustin, do you want to introduce our next guest we have tonight?
Yes, equally as much looking forward to this guest. Pam has been fantastic so far every time I've spoken to her. Pam Denholm, she is the executive director of the Weymouth Food Pantry. Pam, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm doing good.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Pam, are you bashful? Is that why we can't see you?
I am bashful, and I'm also hiding in the laundry room.
Well, we can appreciate that. We appreciate that. Sorry to make you wait to talk to us. You've been hiding in the closet this whole time.
Face in the house, so, can't hear the dogs bark.
This is real life, people.
Yeah, real life. We will get right to it, though, Pam. We can start the same way. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and, who the Weymouth Food Pantry is?
Yes, thank you. And it was so great that I can follow Peter Forman because we are members of the South Shore Chamber too. And they've been really wonderful about supporting nonprofits in our community and connecting us with business leaders to help provide skills and resources and all kinds of things. So another shout out for them. Membership is worth every penny.
I can say when I let Peter know that you would be joining him tonight as our guest, he was very happy. So I go, oh yeah, I know Pam. I go, this is turning all right. This sounds fantastic.
So the Weymouth Food Pantry has been around for 32 years. We started in the basement of the Church of Immaculate Conception in Weymouth, and I think the way we've grown is very traditional for food pantries. We're now out on our own. We have a warehouse. The Weymouth Food Pantry is very unique in the way we operate. Weymouth, one of the challenges for residents in Weymouth and one of the biggest barriers to accessing the food pantry back in the day was transport, because we don't have a really good, strong transport infrastructure in Weymouth. And if you're hitting on hard times, you can imagine that transport could be very difficult if you don't have a car or if you're struggling to afford gas or insurance. And so when we were looking to move out of the church and design our services, we hit upon this really great model that allows us to have mobile food pantries. So we have a warehouse, which is our central location, and then we actually go load up our truck and go out into the community with food. And we have 3 distribution days, one in North Weymouth at the First Church in Weymouth, one in East Weymouth at Crossroads Worship Center, and one in South Weymouth, and that is at Old South Union Church. So we kind of have Weymouth blanketed.
Nice.
In addition to that,
wonderful.
Yeah, it really, really works very, very well. So in addition to that, we're one of the few pantries on the South Shore that has, there are a couple of us, but we have a home delivery service. So if anyone is homebound through illness or disability, we take care of them. And then we also have a hunger-free schools program where we partner with teachers in Weymouth who are our absolute heroes. The program was first, I think, initiated by a teacher. Her name is Rosa, and she noticed that some of the kids were coming to school on Monday hungry, and quickly came to realize that these kids rely on the reduced breakfast and lunches at school to help meet their nutrition needs. But when they go home, that program isn't there to support them. So we collaborated and started the Hunger-Free Schools program, and we send home a backpack of food for kids. It's a voluntary program. You sign up for it, and it has some meals and some snacks and some, a couple, some fruit and whatever, and then that bridges the gap between Friday and Monday.
God, that's like amazing. Like, I kind of want to cry.
I'm literally getting thinking of it. That's awesome that you guys do that.
So it's so true. Like, there's so many kids, not just in Weymouth, all over that, rely on food at school, that assistance. And we have a friend who is a teacher, and, she has told us stories about, kids bringing the food from school home because they don't have any food at home. It just breaks our heart. But for all of our listeners, again, if you want to talk to us or to Pam, the number at the studio for Ben is 781-837-4900. Again, 837-4900 if you want to talk to Pam or us. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know why I'm excited about this part, but my heart just breaks. My heart breaks.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think... I was born in Zimbabwe. You hear I have an accent. Hunger is very visible on the African continent. You see it wherever you go. And when I first moved here, you don't see it. It's not something that's immediately apparent when you go about your day-to-day business. So when I first started interviewing at the food pantry, I was like, really? Who's going to come? But, I was really surprised. It's a real issue. It's a big issue on the South Shore. It's a big issue in every single one of our communities. And so, I feel very strongly that the work we do is very important.
It is. Us too. So we're going to ask you a couple questions about it.
Yeah, no, you've already touched base on some of the, logistical improvements you've made and how you run your food pantry, which is already very encouraging. But, these past couple of months, has COVID affected your ability to either, I guess, both collect and distribute?
Oh, my goodness, on so many levels. So on the collection level, yes. The mail carrier food drive usually happens for us every year in May, and the mail carriers, all our mail carriers around the country actually collect food for their local food pantries. We usually get around, I want to say, it's a good couple thousand, like 8,000 or 9,000 pounds of food from that food drive, and that food drive couldn't happen this year for us.
Oh.
And it's impacted a lot of food drives that we had planned over the year. I mean, people have pivoted, and we've had neighborhood food drives and sports teams collecting for us, and so it has helped and buoyed us along. But it's definitely early on was one of the challenges. And then, of course, we have a robust food rescue program. We partner with grocery stores. And so we have this food rescue program that collects food that maybe the label, there's something wrong with the label, or maybe it's close to date or whatever it is. And we go and pick up the food and we're able to distribute it at the food pantry. Well, when the grocery stores were wiped out earlier this year, they had nothing to give. There was nothing to rescue. It had all been rescued already. So, that put a big, in 2019, we collected about 120,000 pounds of the food we distributed from grocery stores. And I think we are probably sitting at less than half that this year.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a big impact. It's been, in terms of collecting food, we've had to be super creative. But in terms of distributing food, I think that our business model, because we're already loading up a truck, because we're already going out into a community, we were well positioned when we had to pivot to change from inside to outside. So we have been doing drive-through pantries at all locations, completely contact-free, right since the beginning. And it's been a great way to keep our volunteers safe and our community safe, people coming to the food pantry safe. Every step, it benefits everybody. So that's been a good thing.
Do you have any other major drives or events that are currently planned right now?
Yes. So our big holiday distribution is coming up for this Saturday. It is going to be the biggest distribution we have on our calendar for the whole year. We are distributing all the fixings for a holiday meal prior to the holiday so that families, regardless of circumstance, can, gather around an albeit smaller table this year than what is normally the case, to, break bread and share a meal together. So we'll have everything from potatoes and cranberry sauce and a ham or a turkey or whatever it is, that your family prefers. We'll have all of that. And we're going to be serving around 700 families through a massive drive-through event at Weymouth High School this Saturday.
Wow.
Pam, are you still looking for donations or, what is it that you are looking for if we can still donate?
Yes, donations are very welcome. This year has hit us hard. I hate to reduce the stories that we hear at the food pantry and the struggles that people are going through to numbers because it seems so impersonal and it doesn't do some of the stories that we've heard justice. But last year, our food pantry had a record year. We distributed the most number of pounds ever in the history of the food pantry, and we had distributed for the whole year 440,000 pounds.
Wow.
This year, we're going to hit 700,000 pounds. Wow. So we are seeing probably 30 to 40% more families than we normally see, people coming to us for the first time who've never used a food pantry before. We are seeing people more often. So a lot of families who used to use us just to bridge the gap if they were on SNAP benefits, and the SNAP benefits ran out in the last week of the month, and they came to the food pantry once a month to help bridge that gap. Those families, some of them we're seeing three or four times a month now. So it's been a big draw, and I know we have a strong network of food pantries. We talk to food pantries in Rockland and Hingham and Quincy and Braintree and Marshfield and Pembroke all over, and everybody is seeing the same thing. We're all feeling, we've all had that big load, and we've all distributed much more food than we've ever thought possible, truly. Mm-hmm. When we look at the numbers, I don't even know how we've done it. It's just unbelievable. And as Peter Forman was saying, this recovery, once the vaccine is out, once we stop wearing masks, our story isn't done, because in the last financial meltdown, it took 2 to 3 years for us to see things stabilize, for us to see our numbers start to drop, for us to see families get on their feet and start to be able to support themselves again financially. And now we're seeing those families again, a few years later, and many other families. And I think this is going to be the normal at the food pantry for at least 2 to 3 years. And so donations are just hugely helpful. You can donate online for us. You can mail us a check, whatever works for you. But we really appreciate anything that people are comfortable giving.
That's amazing. Is it just food that you're looking for donations? I know that my aunt is a member of the Old South Union Church, and she does like the clothing there. I don't know if that's a part of what you do too, or is it just food products that you're looking for, or?
We just do food. So we welcome food donations and we welcome dollar donations too. Our buying power is 7 times that of the average person with the assistance and partnership with Greater Boston Food Bank. So with every can of tuna you can buy, I can buy 7. So if you're if you've got $5 and you're thinking, I'm going to go get a can of beans and a can of tuna and donate it to the food pantry, honestly, we can make that money stretch much, much further.
That's really informative.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Pam, you really have, I know, Dustin, you've been talking with him, and really glad that you were able to join us sort of last minute here on our show. And really, I just love hearing about everything that you've done for Weymouth. And one thing that I would like to do as the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate is make a donation of $500 to your food pantry. You guys out a little bit and buy extra cans of tuna and whatever else it is that you guys need. So I will make sure that Melissa gets that rolling for you tomorrow. Again, it's a privilege to just be in the same Zoom atmosphere as someone who is so kind, generous, and giving as you, that I just feel like when you give it out in slices, it comes back to you in loaves, and we'd love to give you that $500.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. You know, it's my food pantry team and our volunteers have worked so hard this year. And when people like you reach out with a donation like that, it really buoys our spirits. We feel the support. We feel like, okay, you know, like we're seeing the stories, we're seeing the people. So it's not just physical fatigue. You can get emotionally tired too. So when people like you, you know, I'm getting emotional, show us that kind of support. You live, because we know that we're going to be able to make sure the doors stay open and that we can continue feeding people and that we'll continue to be there for people when they need us. So my heartfelt thanks and gratitude.
Yes. And again, we feel the same way for you. And I can see my ladies here on Zoom. I don't know if you can see us or not, but, you know, they're getting welled up. And I know that Dustin is, you know, he just thinks that you're wonderful. So we just wanted to thank you for that. How can people get in touch with you? What is the website so we can sort of finish up our show here tonight?
Perfect. Thank you. Our website is www.weymouthfoodpantry.org. The donation link button is right on the front page. And if anyone would like to reach out to me personally, I'm at pam@weymouthfoodpantry.org.
Perfect. And we will make sure that we get all that information to our WATD listeners. If you weren't able to get that, just feel free to get in touch with us at bostonconnect.com. You can call us at the office, 781-826-8000, and we will be sure to get that message, your information to everybody. Pam, thank you so much. Any of the gang here, final thoughts for Pam?
Thank you, Pam.
Yes, much appreciated.
Oh, yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me, and happy holidays, everybody. I hope you all enjoy.
Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas and happy Hanukkah.
Good luck on Saturday.
WATD FM Marshfield, WBMS Brockton. The South Shore's first choice for live team coverage of breaking news, emergency traffic, and severe weather. WATD. Streaming online at 959WATD.com. And with your smart speaker, just by saying play WATD.
Special deliveries cross-country.
The vaccine rollout continues.
Mitch McConnell puts the hammer down.
We're not leaving here without a COVID package.
Latest cabinet nominee.
Pete Buttigieg is Mr. Biden's choice for transportation secretary.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Peter King in Orlando. From Florida to Maine and California, the distribution points are getting wider.
On day 2, more locations are administering the COVID vaccine. In Minneapolis, a nurse, Tara Woody, given the first vaccine.
I think everyone is just kind of feeling really hopeful that this is the beginning of the end.
Cheers also in Houston as the first dose is given there. And here in California, the first to get the vaccine in San Francisco, Dr. Antonio Gomez, a critical care specialist.
For me, it's not so much receiving the vaccine so much as what it means to our fight against the pandemic.
Steve Futterman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Scientists say the Moderna vaccine